Hey guys, let's check out how to play the newest character in Reverse 1999, Marsha.
Sacrifice is the forge of a knight's glory. That was once certain to me. Until I saw the horrors of violence with my own eyes. There are no weapons fit to bring us glory.
It is very easy and straightforward when it comes to understanding how to play Marsha and what her playstyle looks like. There are only a few things that you have to be aware of. One of those things is that you stack up a buff called Pain's Recompense. You do this passively by having your allies being attacked and by using your incantation number 2, which is a debuff called Virtue of Restraint. You want to spam this debuff as much as you possibly can, because every time you do, you grant yourself a stack of this Pain's Recompense. You want to stack this up to 5 times every single time before you use your ultimate, because whenever you use your ultimate, up to 5 stacks of this Pain's Recompense can be consumed to grant your team another very beneficial buff called Discipline Forged. This increases the critical hit rate, it makes your allies convert their critical hit rate, their excess critical hit rate, 50% of it into critical damage, it grants them incantation might and more critical damage, right? Super beneficial. So again, every time before you use your ultimate, you want to make sure that you have 5 stacks at least of Pain's Recompense. Your debuff, your buff incantation, is your incantation number 1. You will never use this actively, except if your objective is to cleanse debuffs from your team. Every time you use this, you dispel one type of debuff from your entire team, right? You do not need to worry about leveling this up because it will stay at just dispelling one debuff. One more cool thing that I want to tell you about, and this is something that you have to keep in mind for later when we take a look at Marsha's resonance, is that her shields, how big her shields are by default, depends on how high her attack stat is. But the multiplier for her shield increases depending on how high her critical hit rate is. Let's talk about that a little bit more when we talk about her resonance. Now, let's hop into battle and see how everything looks in action. Marsha is of course going to be played in the Afterglow team, which right now consists of Beryl, Isolde, Flutterpage and herself. Now, like it is, I feel like I have to repeat this every single time I make a video on how to play a team, because Flutterpage is currently everywhere. Yeah, first let's 2 crystals blue and 1 crystal purple for Beryl, of course, is always what you're gonna take. Now we play Flutterpage, so you guessed it, we need to accumulate 3 Moxie with her. And the way we're gonna do is we move 1 incantation, we use 2 incantations, and then yeah, we can either apply some burn stacks here already with Beryl, we can grant her vision stacks, right? I always go to immediately apply some burn stacks right out of the gate. Then next turn, our objective, yeah, it could be a little bit different depending on the situation, but what you usually want to do is you want to use Marsha's debuff incantation, activate Flutterpage's ultimate and unlock Beryl's ultimate. That would be always the best possible scenario, right? So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna use the precast incantation for or with Beryl. We want to make sure that we activate Flutterpage's ultimate. We want to apply the debuff with Isolde first. Then we apply the debuff with Marsha. Now we unfortunately would have only 2 Moxie or 2 AP left, but we need to establish 3 more Moxie with Beryl. So we have to get rid of something, and that is gonna be Isolde's debuff. You see how this goes, right? So precast incantation, debuff with Marsha, activate Flutterpage's ultimate, and now use Beryl as much as you possibly can. it is a little bit unfortunate here. So we have to create incantations for Beryl to make our rotation be more effective, right? So we're gonna repeat the process. We're gonna do it exactly like that. Now the last 3 AP go to Beryl. See, this is very, very important, and RNG can screw you over. So you have to be ready for this very specific case here. And to make this more consistent is the reason why we play the unfinished tune. Very, very important, as you just saw. And then we're gonna go ahead and use everything that we have available with Beryl, so that next round we have her ultimate ready. That was actually brilliant, because the RNG heavily screwed me over here. So you can see how to adjust things. And yeah, this is kind of what this video is there for. It is there for you to learn a little bit. And when things don't go exactly perfectly my way and RNG screws me up, that will help you understand things further and how to adjust. Okay, now what is very, very important in this turn is that the very first thing that you do is you apply the debuff with Isolde. And from this round onwards, we will always have the Isolde debuff active at all times. So again, every single time you use the precast incantation with Beryl first. Then you will apply the debuff with Isolde. Then you will apply the ultimate with Marsha, because you have to use Marsha's ultimate before you do any significant damage, because using Marsha's ultimate will increase a bunch of things, right? Critical hit rate, critical damage, incantation might, and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that you use that ultimate before you actually deal some significant damage. Okay, precast incantation, debuff with Isolde, and now you will always have it, right? But still check and make sure if you have 5 stacks of Pain's Recompense or not, because those 5 stacks, they want to be consumed from the ultimate. This is very, very important. So better be safe than sorry. And even though you know you have the stacks, check, right? Very important. If you wouldn't have the stacks, you would use a buff incantation or even use the unfinished tune right here to establish a new debuff incantation. That would be even better. So yeah, keep an eye on that. It's very, very important. So again, the precast incantation with Beryl, the debuff with Isolde, Marsha's ultimate, Beryl's ultimate, and you wing it from here. Are there any debuffs on your team? You use the buff incantation from Marsha. We of course always want to apply AP +1, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. And everything else that we have left is an incantation that applies burn with Isolde, so we're gonna use that. Even better would be to use Beryl over Isolde like every single day of the week, right? If that's not possible though, use Isolde to deal damage and apply burn. Perfectly fine. And again, the emphasis, don't forget about you having 5 stacks of Pain's Recompense on Marsha before you use the ultimate. Use that ultimate every time before you use your incantations that are here to deal damage. Super important because of this critical hit rate increase and the incantation might. And that's gonna be it. That is how you play the Afterglow team together with Marsha, right? You're gonna go ahead now. You constantly want to use Beryl, right? This is of course needless to explain. That is our main DPS, and you want to unlock her ultimate as much as possible. Here we are very close, or we even have the Isolde ultimate unlocked. So that is what we're gonna use, like right off the gate every single time. And now we're gonna check here, right? See, Marsha already has 5 Moxie accumulated, so perfect. We still have to watch out though that, see, if this battle would continue and you would now have to check, you see, hey, Marsha has ultimate already ready again. Look if you have 5 stacks of Pain's Recompense. If not, use your unfinished tune to get hands onto her debuff incantation, use her debuff incantation, so you gain stacks of pain recompense as fast as possible to use her ultimate all over again. And yeah, see, that's gonna be it. That is very, very straightforward and easy to understand. Let's take a look into her Psychube. You will obtain this one for free by simply playing the current story. It is called Singleness of Heart, and what it does is it gives you a flat critical hit rate. When an ally is attacked by an enemy under the burn status, damage dealt minus a certain amount of percent. After the carrier casts an ultimate, if at 120 points of afterglow or above, all allies gain a pretty heavy increase when it comes to critical damage. That is gonna be her best in slot. Play the story, obtain it for free, and be a happy little guy. For her resonance, you're gonna use the special piece Equibalance, and you're gonna focus on critical hit rate and increasing her attack. If this piece should be shaped different for Marsha, don't worry about it. Take this as a blueprint, and you know that the most amount of emphasis you should put on when you create this resonance is critical hit rate and then attack. Those two stats are the most important parts, so get them as high as possible with this special piece Equibalance. Let's not forget about her portraits either. So yeah, to make it as short as possible. The portraits here, they are good, but they are not needed. Look, let's dive a little bit into this here. Moxie gained when entering battle increased to 3. The excess critical hit rate to critical damage conversion ratio is increased. We increased the burn stack limit. The best thing here is the P2, right? The maximum amount of pains recompense consumed increases to 7 from just 5 stacks. That sounds really, really amazing, but as you just saw in battle, that we are always at 5 stacks when we use our ultimate anyways, at least early on. In the later stages of the fight, we even could struggle a little bit to even get to 5 stacks in the first place. So increasing this to 7 stacks, yeah, will be good here and there, but it is honestly a little bit underwhelming, because what this leads to is you would put emphasis or take emphasis away of actually actively using Beryl and Isolde, and you would put that emphasis then onto using Marsha actively. That is honestly not something that you would want to do. Just keep it at 5 stacks, you know, the conversion rate is already good enough. We have more than enough Moxie already. We don't need any of these portraits. I would personally recommend you just stay at P0 Marsha, and it's gonna be perfectly fine. Of course, the portraits are good. They can and they will help. It's great if you could get portraits for Marsha, but it is honestly absolutely not needed. If you do get portraits, you should stop at P2 at the very maximum. But again, just stay at P0 and you are totally fine and not missing out on anything. I hope that video was fun and informative. If you like Reverse1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. If you have any questions, join the Discord server and ask me there. You can even ping me every single day. It doesn't matter. Whenever you want to talk to me, ping me on my Discord server. Link in the description down below. But until next time, take care of yourselves. Have a great day. And we love this game.